Welcome back to day 2 from Radio Row, the Block CourageCast. Dave Stomlittle, Dwayne Brooks, Wally Williams, and we're off and running already because our first guest is here. He is a defensive back with the Los Angeles Chargers. Played at Louisiana, if I'm correct, LSU.
Yes, sir.
So, coming home here, do a little Radio Row stuff. Kristian Fulton. Kristian, welcome aboard.
Sir,
how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Appreciate y'all having me. It's an honor.
How is this Radio Row experience? I know this is your first day on it, but just what's the initial thought as you look around and see everybody here?
I mean, it's just a lot of media, that, we only see a couple media, I guess media streams or whatever that come, and check us out throughout the season, so it's different, seeing so many people and their shows, so it's a different world. I see that, to experience.
Open it up to DP.
So, you said this is what year? You're going into year 6.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your injury history. Mm-hmm. What's the worst injury you've ever experienced?
The worst injury I've ever experienced probably was a groin injury that I had dealt with. It was in year 3. And man, it was tough to come back from. Cause these are like injuries, soft tissue injuries that I never dealt with in college. I never dealt with really growing up. So it was just difficult to kind of fight through. Cause you need I didn't realize how much. Obviously, as a DB we open our hips, do things like that. So not being able to even damn near walk, dealing with that was very difficult for me.
You survived the SEC injury free?
I did. Well, nah. My junior year, I got injured. I had a Liz Frank injury on my foot, but that was it happened week 12, so week 10 or 12, something like that. But I made it through.
SEC.
So it's an interesting seat that you have because, with the SEC being where it is right now and looked upon as being such a dominant league, and having your seat as being at LSU. With the animals that come through there on the other side of the ball that you cover. Mm-hmm. So, making that transition to the league, I mean, name the guy that you actually practice against in college. Mm-hmm. Yeah, call them names out. Who were they? Call those names.
Jamal, Jets, Justin.
Okay.
Terrence Marshall.
Okay.
A couple guys.
All right, now come into the league. All right. Is there a drop-off? In practice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you got McConkey over there coming out of the SEC too, right?
Yeah.
But but it's that it's that level of competition. This guy that you practice with in college, these guys are Pro Bowlers, man. Right. When you see anybody else, is it a drop off?
Yeah. I mean, there's some good players. It's definitely good players out there. Those guys at the top of the game. Mm-hmm. They've shown that year in, year out. So I would say it definitely hasn't got any harder since. It hasn't got any harder to cover anybody. Right. If anything, it's a difference, with I guess in size as far as the receiver, because they do have bigger receivers than those guys. But I've seen the best, so I know I can cover. I know I can go with the best, really. So I mean, it was definitely a fun time, going against those guys at that time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's a job. It is what it is.
It is what it is, man.
What was year 1 with Jim Harbaugh like?
He's a different guy. I haven't had a coach like him. He's a player's coach. He's a guy. Who's won everywhere he's been. So he knows how to win. He knows how to set a culture. But I mean, he has a story literally every day, So he's a guy, that tries to find ways, to get guys to buy in, And I think that's shown, everywhere he's been.
Right.
With us winning, and that's really the main thing, why we in
it. I'm gonna go there a little bit. Okay, I'm just let you know. You mentioned Florida State earlier.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We had an off year this year. I'm a Seminole too. We had an off year this year, but the past couple years we've kind of smacked LSU around a little bit. So my question is, did you and Derwin James have any type of bets or wagers going on the past couple years when LSU and Florida State played?
So we haven't had any wages because like this is my first year that I met him.
Okay.
I actually met him. So I missed it when we played each other. Usually because like if you have you're to a college team, play a team,
Right.
Somebody when you definitely have some bets going on, but I missed them. So like we haven't had any bets, but like if anything, we'll get into the talks of DBU. That world.
Ooh, wow. Okay, that's so who wins those? Who wins those debates? Because that's interesting coming from both schools, DBU.
Yeah, I think we won the debate. I think we won the debate. They got some. I would say they're like 2-3, number 2 or 3. I give them 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Because
Wow.
they definitely have some, elite guys that came out of the.
Yeah.
I think we got that though.
The best.
Yeah, we got the best.
You think you got the best?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we got the best.
All right. Okay. I'm not.
Over a collection of years. That's all.
We have the best.
What?
Prime.
Oh, he said y'all got the best.
I mean, that's the foundation.
It starts with him.
That's the
right?
foundation. It gets into what the prototype is, and then we get into like numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, because I say the prototype is definitely prime. That's state. Okay, maybe even give it to Buckley a little bit because when Buckley shitting on Syracuse with the fake thing and hauled ass.
Yeah.
Okay.
The punt return.
The punt return. So you get that right there. But I think numbers. LSU may have numbers.
Yeah, little Patrick Petersons and all, Honey Badger.
They definitely got numbers on the receiver side.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
No argument there. You can't take it as
So if you got
saying.
first round receivers, you got first round corners coming out.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
consistently. I'm just saying.
Consistently.
I'm just saying. It's almost sickening. I think for the last like 6 drafts, you had a first round like LSU receiver or D.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they can't beat Florida State though.
Is this how you thought?
They still can't beat FSU with all that talent.
Hey, but here, you know what? Here's what I do want to know because it is somewhat of a unique situation. We used to seeing it in one city, but not really in another city. So, how was it sharing the same damn stadium with the Rams, LA? I mean, New York, okay, you get it,
right.
but now you guys are in LA. What is that like?
Yeah, it was definitely a fun year. For me, a fun experience. My first real time, experience at a bigger city, a bigger market, which was, good for me. It's good for a lot of players, to experience that. But it was cool, to share that stadium with them. We actually got to do joint practices with them, before the season. So that was, cool. And I think, they felt us, when we went against them. So it was cool, to go against them. It was weird, I guess you could say, playing in the same stadium with another team, because I mean, obviously it's like they switch it out, so quickly and stuff like that, But I mean, I think it was a fun year. It was a pretty solid year, for both teams. I see.
Right. Same color.
Right.
Yeah.
That whole
same
thing.
Color, yeah.
Right.
I don't understand that one. Yeah, for sure. But it's cool though.
You mentioned joint practices, and I've been fascinated ever really since they've become the thing. Are they always as chippy as it's portrayed by the media, or is it sort of overblown how those joint practices go?
I would say most of the time it's chippy. I say it depends on the coach. The coach kind of sets the tone, at the beginning of the practice, but guys are just it's football, so, guys they're going to get it on whether the coach said or not, guys going to get their one-on-ones, and I feel like, but usually, my past few years, we definitely had some fights go on and stuff like that. I think it was my second year we went to Tampa, and this, they had Tom Brady, they had Mike, all those guys. This was the year after they won the Super Bowl, and they still had AB, and AB had, I don't know if y'all remember, AB got into a fight at a joint practice, and I was there. I literally, right in front of it. It was crazy to see, so, you never know what you're going to get out of joint practice. That's my favorite time to go against guys, I would say, definitely.
Now, you don't swing at a guy with a helmet on.
Oh, no.
Okay. You just had to make sure. You see those guys that are trying to punch guys that have a helmet on.
They ain't never been in a fight before. Why? They just swinging. Yeah, no, that's crazy.
It's just cool to hear it still go on.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing, because it was joint practices. Oh, we were going to fight.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a matter of like when it was going to happen, and then the coaches knew like, look, guys, I want to get this amount of work in before at least y'all start acting the ass out.
Exactly.
I want to have something on film.
Right? Can we get like at least half a practice on film so we can go back and get some eval in, because once it start going to the left, it's over.
Yeah, you gotta shut it down. You gotta shut it down.
Yes.
Because it's gonna carry over eventually, like to the next day. Cause usually it's like 2-3 days.
Correct.
You go against them. So
Correct.
Yeah.
It may get to the next day. Then the first period, you start out in the fight, and it was like, we done.
Yeah, they shut it down.
Shut it down.
Go back to a normal practice.
Right.
All right, Kristian, I want to get you out of here on this because this is your first time on Radio Row. And, I mean, Wally, former player in the media, a bunch of guys are like, is this something you're thinking about? Not that your career is ending anytime soon, but that post-career life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm definitely, trying to figure it out, what I, have interest in, and see what I want to do, post football, because time is really flying for me. Like I said, I'm going on year 6 coming up, and I feel like I just came in, with COVID passing, like time is flying, for me. So it's definitely, around the time, I'm blessed, to make it this far, into my career. So I'm just trying to, get the most out of it. And like I said, like just doing things like this, allowing me to see, different fields, try new things. It's definitely giving me, options, to see what I want to do.
All right, well, Kristian, absolute pleasure having you come by. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all having me.
Hey, man, one of my fellow rushmen, one of the baddest mofos to ever do it, Warren Sapp, a real dog, an inspiration to 3 techniques, 1 techniques, D-lineman everywhere, coming to you live from
Did you say a 1 technique?
I said, I know you better than that. But as a D-lineman, I know he's one of the greatest that ever did it. You can play everything. I see you go in there and do it all.
No, brother.
You ain't never touched the nose a little bit? I seen you come around on that 3 technique stunts with Cheaty and Ray, and I remember y'all used to run that cash that EC.
I'm running the tech, so I'm going out. And
that's the only one you want? Well, don't let me get it wrong. The man.
I know 1 technique. I'm an under tackle. I'm the 3. They say it was a 4 technique, right?
Absolutely. He can do it all. One man.
No, just the 3 technique.
Just the 3.
I don't want to play in. I don't want a 5 technique. I don't need none of that.
Absolutely.
Just the 3, baby.
Well, he was going to eat your lunch in that 3. I know he's one of the best that ever did it. My man, Warren Sapp.
Hey, how y'all doing out there?
So, Warren, you're actually here because you will tee it up in the inaugural James Hardy Pro Football Hall of Fame Invitational. So tell us a little bit about the golfing that you're going to be doing here.
You know what? We got James Hardy wants donation money to the Habitat for Humanity, and us as Hall of Famers and some pros going to come together and do a pro-am. They're donating for every birdie we're going in. They're going to throw it in there. We're going to make sure we get every bit of that $100,000. No doubt about it. So we got some good players. Johnny Rand and them boys, Rondé, they can play some golf.
Now here's my question. I'm looking at the PGA Tour champions that you're going against, like John Daly, Chris DeMarco.
Playing with.
Well, playing with. I'm sorry.
Yeah, pro-am. You get together.
You
get your handicap, and then you get John Daly. He drives that ball all the way down, and then you get a chip in the putt. You see what I'm saying?
I got it.
You working, and then I get, and then I got to play my own ball too. So.
Right. Which one are you most excited to play with in this tournament?
It doesn't matter. The next one.
The next one.
The next one. And the next one because of charity benefits. Then we're coming back for another year, so that means it was a success.
I love it.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, you and John Randall going for the sack belt, always battling for who's going to lead the NFC North in sacks. Are you and him still as competitive in the golf world?
Yeah, we go at it hard time when we go to camp. That's knockdown drag out right there.
What's the scoreboard looking like? Where we at? Johnny's gotten good?
Johnny good.
Oh, really?
Johnny can hit it.
Now, what's the best part of his game? Is he a short guy, or is he taking it off the tee?
All of it. He's got a well-rounded game.
And now, what's your plan to get back on top? Are you working with somebody, or you being intentional about it?
No, just gonna play more.
Just gonna play more.
Just gonna play more, because I could never get to that point where you talking about hands and all that foolishness. I'm a feel.
You're not out there like surveying it.
No, I just need the distance. And once you get your distance, being able to judge, because I'm a natural fade of the ball because I'm lazy with it. I never come over the top. That ain't going to be my shot. Mine going to be that Tiger Woods power fade that, that Jack Nicklaus power fade, and then it turned into a nasty slice every now and then. So it's a power fade when it does right. When that thing goes nasty, it's a nasty slice. So, I get it all. But I have a good time.
So Warren, tell us a little bit about what you're doing up in Colorado, coaching. Is this your first coaching gig?
Yes.
First coaching gig. What's the difference you see now in the defensive lineman that you're coaching now versus when you came up as a D-lineman?
We got $32 a weekend.
Okay.
Hungry.
There you go.
Isn't that belly
Huge
food? Can you rush with a full belly?
Hey, man, no, yeah, they can. Man, the food alone in we call it the bistro. The Fulton Bistro is unreal. The 3 meals they eat a day, unreal. And then they got a little card that they got $90 on there. You go eat on top of that. It's unreal, dog. It's unreal. But the one thing we do have, we have young men that want to work because that one thing we don't play at the door. The black Nick Saban hit you at the door, 7:15 the meeting, and if you at 7:10, I know you late. You definitely late at 7:10. You late. Yeah, we go hard at it. We dads first and foremost.
Right.
And when you're a dad, you want to produce a young man that can go out and sustain himself, and go get him a wife and a family and be able to support him.
Protector and a provider.
That requires some restraints on this wall and some shocking when it ain't done right.
Y'all build
a little sharp treatment. Yeah. We come from nothing. The dirts of Fort Myers and the dirts of Plymouth, Florida.
Yeah.
Come on, baby. Prime says your mama ain't worked since 89, mine ain't worked since 95. So what we talking about here? That's what you talking about, retiring your mama, then come on over here. We know something about that.
Got the formula for that.
We know something about that.
Right.
Come on over here.
Warren.
Yes, sir.
Wish we could have more time with you, but this has been a lot of fun.
Hey, man, you make sure James Harden, they the guy.
Absolutely.
They the guy.
You will see Warren Sapp on the links on the course March 31st, April 5th at the old course of Broken Sound in Boca Raton, Florida for the James Hardy Pro Football Hall of Fame Invitational. Warren, thank you for taking some time with us today.
Thank you, brother.
It was a pleasure.
My man. Welcome back to the Super Bowl edition of the Ed Block CourageCast. We're here with one of my favorite players from the Chargers, from the Texans. Did you say?
The Seattle Seahawks.
Help me out.
Also, Denver Broncos. Yeah, I thought it was all your favorite player.
Yeah, one of my favorite players. So the Seattle, Denver Chargers, and my final year with the Carolina Panthers. Excellent. Mr. Okung, tell us about what you're doing now off the field since you've been retired.
You know, before I do that, I did have a thought, because I actually studied this word, the word courage, right? The word courage, I believe, has a Latin root, and the root is cor, meaning inner, and courage, which I believe is a Middle English word, which means a heart, a strength. So something which is indwelling, which is within us. You know, so, man, when I look at my career, my time in the NFL, I've always thought about, hey, I've always had to be in a situation where I was facing fear, right? Having to overcome an obstacle, right? And when I won the Ed Block Courage Award, it was just that, right? Some people would say, well, you were able to beat an injury and overcome that in order to move forward, but it's much more than that. It was battling a psychology, a mentality in which you felt less than, and having to keep showing up every single day.
And what are the things that you go through? Because I know during my career we took drugs, we did a lot of surgeries. Did you feel like those things were going to be detrimental to you, or how did you navigate what to do about your injury?
Yeah, so let's think about this for a second. Most of us, who go through the college route, you come out of your home 17, 18 years old. You're not even a man. Right? And then you go into college, into essentially a billion-dollar business. Right, do that for 3-4 years, and then if you're fortunate, you go on to the next level, right? But in all actuality, I just retired, I transitioned 3 to 4 years ago, right? I'm 36 now, so that means I left when I was a boy out of my home, right? As I was developing into a man, and went off to go do something where I immediately was ushered and pushed into a business. Right, and now I have to figure out, how do I be a man? How do I have to show resolve, right? I've been able to establish wealth. I've been able to create a career for myself, right? But there are the more intrinsic things in life which need to be developed. And I think that's the issue is how do we overcome that?
Are you talking about mindfulness and being intentional about becoming the best version of yourself, not physically, but just mentally and all that together?
For sure, and a lot of it's character.
Yes.
Right, like how do you develop character in this life? Right, and you know just as well as I do, that football world is it's cutthroat.
It's a buzzsaw, man. You get up against that razor's edge, and I saw you feel that grind.
Oh yeah, and you're gonna get cut.
Yes.
Right. At some point, everybody has their day. Right. It's just inevitable.
Yes.
And in some ways, we're mature in that. Right. But it also changes. It makes us into people that, as we've seen, have a hard time being moved back into modern society.
Were you angry at all about the end of your career, or did you have any trepidation about it being over and not being ready for it?
Well, surprisingly, certainly was not ready for it, but I was never angry because my situation was a little different. I think I'd been trying to visualize what the end was going to look like, and I've been trying to wrap my mind around that. And I had a special occasion one time. I'm with my son in a pool, and I'm teaching him how to swim. And he's about 2 years old at the time, and I lost my father at a really young age, and I just had to grow up really fast. And my father, unfortunately, picked business over his family, which ultimately led to his demise. Right, so here I am, and as the universe will have it, you're being presented with this opportunity where, hey, what are you going to do? Presented with the same opportunity that your father was. Will you be the man? Right? And I say a man, right? Choosing your family first over career. Right? And I had that opportunity, and I was elated. I was elated, and I went for it, and I chose my family first. Right? And that was one of the best decisions that I could have made. It's a man decision that I made because I knew my family needed me, and I needed my family.
And then, can you elaborate on that, like some of those individual decisions that went along into that process? Yeah,
because you made a really good point. It is a series of individual decisions into making a big decision. And I wish I could say that it was all easy, right? But I think they were all character decisions where you actually have time to reflect, right, and think about, consider, right, many of the moving variables around you, right, and then how they can consequentially affect your family and affect you. I was bouncing around, going from team to team, right? I was making good money, right? But I had to ask myself, is this the best thing for my wife? Can we have community? Can we establish a relationship with other people? Things that we're both hungry for, but the career's in the way, right? So I'm fortunate. The NFL provided me incredible opportunities for wealth. It opened up many doors, right? And it's on me to utilize those things. However, right, the things I need to do as a person, right, those are things that the NFL cannot offer you. Right? Those are the things that you really need to work on, right? So I would hope that I made good decisions, and I am the best version of myself right now.
When you look back on your NFL career, now that you're a year or two removed, what's your favorite memory from being in the league?
My favorite memory and worst memory was winning the Super Bowl.
Okay, that's such an interesting comment. So can you elaborate on why it's also the worst moment?
Well, look, you have this dream of hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, and this confetti falls, and you realize, there's a finality with this. You'll never be on this team ever again. You will never be the same ever again. And you look up, and you have this incredible journey in order to make it there, and you realize this trophy is just that. It's a metallic piece of metal. It's metal. That trophy means absolutely nothing, but it's the people, those around you, your ability to go in deep with them.
What it stood for.
Like you said. It's symbolic.
Yes.
And those are the type of things that I had a hard time with. It's like I realized, something just died, right? And I had been thinking that in my life, this is what I needed to do to feel complete, when actually I was losing something.
So it's nice to dream, but you do have to wake up.
Of course.
And come to that reality. And what was the next step after you came to that realization to okay, so what is the next step? I've succeeded, I've hit my goal. Now what's next? What's the next goal, or do you just go right into
Well, the beautiful thing about football, it's an incredible teacher.
Yes.
You learn a lot in those 100 yards. And the following year, we actually lost the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Right? So in a very dramatic way. I don't know if you guys remember.
Yes.
I'm not going to get into that. Right? But so you have now have an opportunity to go and try to attempt to do it again, and everybody's excited. Right? And then you have an interception on the one. And you're reminded, hey, you remember that feeling you felt last year when you thought this was everything, you realized it was nothing? Well, why did you think this would be better? Why did you think this would right that? Right. So that's what would happen to me. Is I hopefully had moments of introspection there and lessons that I had to keep learning over and over again. But I was a hard-headed child and an even more hard-headed adult.
Now, did it get better once you step back a year or two later and look back on it like, and now it's all good because I don't have any negative feelings about it, or do you always still hold a little bit of pain from that memory?
Yeah, it's it is painful, because I thought we'd be a dynasty.
Yeah.
Like what we're seeing with the Chiefs now. I thought that that was our chance to be able to establish and separate ourselves in history. But we made history in another way, which we did not expect. And history for others.
Yes.
But I mean, that's life. That's life.
Unfortunately, but at least you're on that coin. So a lot of people have never made it that far to have to go through that feeling or to feel that sense of loss. But going to the Super Bowl 2 times in your career, that's a lot for most guys. Don't ever get there once.
Yeah, and I would hope that I learned something from that. That those experiences were great lessons and teachers for me.
All right, Russell, I do want to ask, as a former Ed Block Courage Award recipient, what did it mean to you to get that trophy and know that your teammates voted on you for that?
Yeah, if I remember in particular, that was the year that we won the Super Bowl. That was the Ed Block Courage Award, and it was also a very difficult year because I had torn all the ligaments in my ankle, and I was literally, forcing pain pills down my throat in order to play in the game. And I could feel the ligaments, the instability of my ankle, and I still had to go and make something of myself while I was looking at a contract year. Right? And it was a very emotional time for me, but every day I had to keep showing up. Like my teammates needed me, like my family needed me. I had goals for the future that I wanted to see come into fruition, and we're able to do that. And now that was what was so great is that when you're at this Ed Block Courage Award, dinner and ceremony, you meet other guys who are doing the same thing. Because unfortunately, for some reason, us men, we tend to think that we are going through things alone and we like to handle things alone. Right, and
You don't like pity.
No, don't pity me. I don't need anybody to feel sorry for me. But the truth is like I needed to know that other people were in the same boat. And Ed Block Courage Award, the dinner itself was a time in which I saw others and I realized that I wasn't alone.
You saw yourself in them, even guys on other teams. Was there anybody there from another team that you even maybe had a little bit of animosity towards, that you thought like, man, we're going through the same thing and now you guys are bonded?
I'm trying to remember who was that year, man. All I remember is one of the biggest things. I remember we went to a bar the night before, and we're drinking. This is when I used to drink. I don't drink anymore. We're drinking and we're just talking, and you would swear we've been in the same locker room.
Really? You guys just bonded that quick, huh?
We bonded really quick, and we're having a good time, and I think a lot of us felt relieved.
Yeah.
It was like we're almost looking for closure in the situation, and we found it in each other in the award ceremony.
Now, Dave, I'm going to joke about something that me and some of the guys in the lobby used to joke about. We used to always equate, sometimes playing football, it's kind of like you destroy your body for money, kind of like a prostitute. And sometimes we'd be like, okay, we're going on the host stroll today because,
I'm so glad you gave me that precipice before you said that, or I'd have been completely having a heart attack.
You got to pop a Percocet and a couple of anti-inflammatories every day to go to practice.
Yeah.
Then you come out of practice, you got to pop another Percocet and a couple of anti-inflammatories. And then you got to pop another one to go to bed, and then another one to get up, and then you're doing this week after week. I couldn't help it. It's like, I can only imagine this must be what it feels like for them to go out there on this stroll and knowing you're destroying your body and feel like, when is this going to end? When am I ever going to be healed? When am I ever going to be whole? Or will I ever be whole again? Or will I end up, in a worse situation because I play until my body is completely destroyed. Now I got to worry about, can I walk when I'm 50?
Right.
Did you ever remember thinking about that or having those conversations with guys when you were taking opioids or painkillers to try to cope?
Unfortunately, I don't think I thought about that until I was done playing. It's like I finally, like, for the first time ever, when I was done playing, I looked up and actually reflected on the body of work.
Yeah.
I said, whoa, you mean to tell me, wait, I earned this amount of money and we achieved these things? I actually never thought about it. I just was on cruise control, like you were saying. You become, the pain becomes so normalized.
Yeah, you become numb to yourself.
Yeah, you're numb to yourself. And as I was sitting with my wife, and like now we're trying to do the deep work, and we're talking about fasting, and I'm doing these type of things, and I'm reflecting and looking at myself for the first time. And like that, and that's where the therapy began.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I know we got to start getting ready to wrap up. Any last thoughts or about your work you're doing with flag football that you want to share with us?
Yeah, of course. So I thought I was done with football.
Yes.
I left and I was completely off the grid. I spent 3 years, didn't pick up my phone, didn't talk to anybody, just isolated myself. Right, and as I've now healed and come through most of those things, I have the opportunity to now think about something which I've always loved deeply, and that's football, and seeing football be extended across the entire world.
Everybody can play.
Of course, right? So the first thing I did is I reached out to some friends, and we put on a game where we flew NFL football players out all the way to the Middle East in Abu Dhabi. We played flag football. And now that we've seen, and the NFL is just announcing this, that flag football is going to be the largest growth opportunity for all sports. We're not going to see anything grow this fast. So I'm investing my money, my capital, my time, my most important resource, into something that I thoroughly believe in, can change communities and change lives. And we're going to see that in flag football for the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, we're hoping that you'll come out in March to the Block Courage Awards and maybe display some of this flag football with some of the Courage kids at the Courage House. Then you can come toss the rock around with us in March.
The Courage House was nice. That was beautiful. That's beautiful. That is beautiful work. Those kids, man.
I think it'd be a beautiful game for some beautiful people, and we'd love for you to lead that up for us.
All right, look, man, I can't make any promises now. I got to talk to my wife about my schedule.
Gotcha.
But I would love to.
We'll give you all the information. Russell, thank you for taking the time with us.
Hey, hello, welcome to another great episode of the Courage Cast. I'm here with my co-host, Dave Steinwintle, Wally Williams, and unfortunately, D. Brooks couldn't be here with us. But today I have a superstar Asian in the game. He's been with the best of the best, going all the way. You name a quarterback who's been in the league, he's probably been a client. I know one of my favorite quarterbacks, Warren Moon, was the first reason I got to talk to a superstar in the NFL, Lee Steinberg, super agent to the Stars. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on out there this week at the Super Bowl.
Well, first of all, we just established a concussion foundation with my name on it, to explore prevention, awareness, and cure into the specter of athletic concussion and head injury. Back in the 80s, I was representing half the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and they kept getting hit in the head. We would go to doctors and ask, how many is too many? When should you contemplate retirement? They had no answer. So we've been holding concussion conferences since then. And with this new foundation, we'll be able to fund research into trying to heal a brain better. Now, Dwayne, there are two new breakthroughs in brain health that change the whole course of things. One is a thing called RTMS, and the other is neurofeedback. And both of them, through the theory of neuroplasticity, can actually heal a concussed brain and rewire it and bring it back to health. So we're doing that, and then I have my Super Bowl party on Saturday with 4,000 of my closest friends.
And I'm invited.
And you're invited. We share that Cal Bear heritage.
Yes, sir. Go Bears. Is Tony Gonzalez coming out? Tell us who's going to be there.
Oh, my God. We're giving the humanitarian awards to Gail Benson, the owner of the Saints, and to Drew Brees as a retired player, and we're giving one to Sean Payton Hayden, the coach at Denver, and there's the first African-American woman to be president of a team, and that's Sandra Douglas Morgan, the Raiders. We're giving her an award. But it'll be filled with current players, former players, and all sorts of celebrities from music and movies and the rest of it. Super Bowl, if you will, a convention of Americana, big business, politics, sports, entertainment, all together, hopefully, and our charities, National Urban League. So, what up, baby? Mark Morial, who used to be mayor of New Orleans, is getting an award, and we're going to put a family into the first house they'll ever own at the party by giving the down payment and moving in.
Oh my God!
With so many, things you've been a part of, philanthropy, all these things like that you've done over the years, Super Bowl events. I've been to some of your Super Bowl parties indirectly with other clients, all these things over the years. Is there a favorite element of this that you kind of go back to every time or revisit consistently? Just, a couple things you just have to have your hand involved in.
Charity. So one year we sent a water machine to Haiti when people were dying of cholera with impure drinking water. We've done homeless, we've done at-risk kids, we've done mentoring program, we did autism relief. So that element has to be there. And then some educational elements. So there are new methods of treatment available to everybody, but especially to athletes that can raise their level of performance in critical circumstances. Hyperbaric oxygen, stem cells, red light, Bimini, Nanovi, neurofeedback. And so we're trying to educate people a little bit. So we want them to come away with a better understanding of the breakthroughs in biomed.
So you're working with some of the top quarterbacks in the league. I know this weekend is going to be special for you. What are you thinking is going to happen this week in this showdown?
I think it's an incredibly tight game. I think it's, if anything, a little more offense, but it might be like Buffalo, Kansas City was 2 weeks ago. And I just think it's so tight with turnovers, anything could play a role. I'm going to pick, because of Mahomes, I'm going to pick the Chiefs 31-28.
Great pick.
That's exactly what he wanted to hear right there. And I'm glad you brought up Mahomes because, one thing that we often monitor out here in the media world per se, even though we're ex-players, salaries, contracts, money's going up, positions. Why is the running back position devalued as much as other positions, the wide receiver, all those things like that? Will a guy like Saquon Barkley change the running back market moving forward in the future of this business? Will it decrease? What things do you see that go parallel with this game that actually parlay the market and has these players devalued, rising salaries, all these things like that? What is the essence of all that and how it goes about?
Well, I think that when you mentioned Saquon Barkley, I remember years ago I had Thurman Thomas, and I had to try to make the argument that Thurman Thomas constituted such a large percentage of Buffalo's offense that he should be treated like a quarterback. If I was working with Saquon Barkley, I'd be arguing that if you look at the percentage he makes up of their offense, the first question is, why is he not in consideration for most valuable player? In other words, those quarterbacks are good, but Saquon Barkley controlled that last playoff game. And so it argues that. But you have to make the argument that the running back in Saquon's situation is so impactful that he ought to be treated like a quarterback. And even if you don't get there, which you probably don't, like
definitely more than a receiver, right?
Yeah, with Thurman, we didn't get to quarterback level, but we got well above what any running back ever made. So that sort of key. And then being in this game has such a profound effect on a player's life that sometimes you see the Tom Brady's of the world take a little less money so that the cap hit means they could be surrounded by a great group. And who are you to tell Tom Brady if he's only making $30 million instead of somebody making 37, that when he becomes a household name and makes untold fortune in endorsements,
Right.
that's the wrong strategy.
When do you get to that point as an agent to where you tell your quarterback, hey, you're bigger than the salary cap, so you taking a small deficit or, not taking your maximum payout is going to be so much bigger for you in the next 20, 30 years off the field?
I would tell them that all the time. The thing that this game has the power to take someone from being a well-known football player to a household name. And
Internationally.
yeah, and it's late night and early morning talk shows. It's People Magazine. It's all that. Well, it's Entertainment Tonight, and they cross over. And so I would always argue that you're better off. Now, remember, Dwayne, we're talking about wealthy people. So when the Tom Brady's of the world, he only made $200 million in football. Most people can probably slide by on that cash.
Oh, yeah.
So
good problems to have.
yeah, sometimes they act as if, oh my God, he's being paid 19 cents in green stamps.
So Lee, I wanted to ask, you were talking about that fine window a little bit when you're negotiating those contracts. Usually with you, what was sort of that mark where you were like, okay, now I'm willing to work with the team and maybe come off what my stance was, as opposed to this is what we're asking for, this is what we want?
So the key in everything in sports is listening skills. So it's my job to get into the head and heart and mind of that general manager, or in some cases owner. I've got to get inside him and understand what are the pressures on him, what are the economics on him. Is there a way I can craft a win-win scenario where he achieves his fundamental goals, but we still max out the contract? Can I do that? And a lot of that comes from clever cap structure. So you got to be more creative in showing a general manager, an owner, you can afford this contract, and here's why. Here's how we'll structure the cap, and here's what we'll do. But if you just take it from your own standpoint, you'll never motivate anything.
Are we going to see the billion-dollar athlete, and are you going to negotiate that contract?
That happened, Billy, already, right?
It's all TV money. It's all TV. As long as TV uses sports as a loss leader. Les Moonves once said, I just bought Thursday Night Football. Now I've got the right to lose $100 million. But it doesn't matter because Fox was a nothing network until they bought the NFC contract. And then all of a sudden they were number one. That meant that hundreds of billions of dollars went to their bottom line. So they used Sunday promos for their Monday through Friday broadcast to raise numbers for their network and the advertising buys and all the rest of it. So as long as TV money keeps going up, stadium revenue keeps going up, naming rights and all that. And now we have gambling.
I was going to ask about next.
Right.
Where's that taking us?
Oh my gosh.
Is it sustainable?
And here's what's going to happen. We love sports because we have the presumption that they're played on an even playing field.
Fairness is everything.
That you're trying as hard as you can, the rules are the same, the officiating's the same. All it's going to take is one player who gets in gambling problems to give insider information to a bookie or one guy to shape performance, and this becomes public. And now all of a sudden you're on a slippery slope to wrestling, right? In other words, it's just entertainment. It's not, yeah. So I don't think they thought that through. The same people who didn't think through NIL, same people who didn't think through conference realignment.
Short-term gains,
Yeah,
long-term losses.
all of these, we've had these three basic structural changes happen in a couple of years, and nobody's contemplating. I mean, did anybody think that passing SB 206 for NIL was going to lead to a guy enrolling at LSU, receiving like $4 million, being recruited by an alum from Michigan and given $14 million right out of high school. And so you're going to have 4 conferences elevate and sign all the great players, and the rest of them will be left behind. And because Ohio State can pay you, and Michigan can pay you, and Alabama can pay you, and SC can pay you, or Notre Dame can, but a whole lot of schools can't. And then they'll pull away from the NCAA. They'll pull away, and at the end, they'll be their own conference. They'll negotiate their own TV contracts. They don't need the NCAA.
All right, Lee, this has been an absolute pleasure. We enjoy every year that you get to come by our